So I want to welcome Paul Pitney to the podcast today. Paul, this podcast is called Beyond the Adjustment, which is obviously my goal is that there is more to our health than just chiropractic. There's more than health than just eating right, exercise. So we're kind of bringing all the individuals who impact health and well-being in our community. And I know the Y has a tremendous part of that and will continue to play a big part of that, as I know there's some exciting things going on with the Y. So I just wanted you to kind of start out. Give me an origination story. You know, how did you get into the Y? Because I know that's not a normal thing, I guess, for most people. I don't know a lot of people who say, yeah, I've been with the Y for how many years?
I've been with the Y for 26 professionally.
26 years, yeah.
But yeah, my story goes back to when I was 6 years old.
Let's hear it. Let's tell us.
All right. So growing up, my dad was I lived in Kentucky, in Madisonville, Kentucky, and my dad was a Kentucky State police officer, and my mom was a teacher. She was a high school English teacher. But together, they made $17,000 a year.
Wow.
I mean, both have degrees, both great jobs, but we qualified for food stamps. So, really couldn't afford to go to, an away summer camp or so the YMCA scholarship to my sister and I to go to day camp.
No way.
And that's kind of where I started, was just in day camp. You know, I remember riding the old Chevy bus and listening to Steve Miller and going to like the city parks and swimming and I guess that's kind of where I got going. And then,
how did you take that then and kind of turn it into a career? Did you go away to college and then you come back to the Y, or was the Y like you were set from the beginning after that?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I wasn't the absolute best high school student. And so like a lot of high school students, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had worked. I had not only gone to programs, soccer, swim teams, and then I started working there part-time, teaching swimming lessons and then lifeguarding and then working inside the Y, and I worked all the way through high school. Didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went to our local community college, which was at that time under the umbrella of the University of Kentucky. And then in that 2 years, in my second year, I took a service learning class, and they highlighted the YMCA, and it's kind of an epiphany for me, like, oh, I could do this for the rest of my life.
Wow. So it's just the entire life then has been there with you and back and circled through your life again. That's just an awesome story.
And at one point, I actually considered going into ministry. And I had just a real deep conversation with a mentor of mine. He said, Paul, did you ever consider that maybe the Y would be your ministry? Like you could reach people through that. And that kind of sealed the deal for me. So
that's awesome.
I went to Murray State University and majored in recreation and nonprofit administration, or as my girls like to say, I went to school to major in camping.
Well, I know some football players that have probably majored in worse things than that.
And then my first full-time job was with a YMCA out in North Carolina, right outside of Asheville. It was a conference center called Blue Ridge Assembly, and it's just a super special place that's been around since the 1900s. And it was.
So how far back does the YMCA go? Because I don't have a lot of familiarity with the history of it.
So it started actually in London, England. Started in a meeting room above a drapery shop, and it was during the textile revolution, and all the men were moving into the cities, and the factory owners would also build bars and brothels around the factory to kind of keep all the money in-house.
Yeah.
And so a guy named George Williams started a Bible study in this attic, this room above his drapery shop, and trying to keep the men on the straight and narrow, and that's how it started. And then it was 6 years later that it made its way across to Boston here in the United States, and Montreal at the same time.
Very interesting.
And so the Y organization is over 180 years old. So
incredible.
as
They're
far as
still in existence.
oh yeah, and
Amazing.
it's done so, has such a rich, deep history within our country, from gathering the names of the dead in World War I and reporting back. In World War II, there were all sorts of armed forces YMCA's across Europe where they would serve hot chocolate or play music or set up dances. You know, a lot of people think about the USO that did all the recreation, but the Y was one of the 5 organizations that started the USO.
Wow, I love that. I think that's tremendous. And I know you've been involved with, because when I first moved to Dickson, there was no YMCA. So I know you've been there from the very beginning.
There was a group of volunteers here in Dickson that hired me.
Gotcha.
To start the Y.
Yeah, and I think the Y is very unique, is because it's, of all the gyms that I go to, it always seems like the little higher level of being clean and better taken care of. No overpowering music. It just, everything seems to be just a neat little atmosphere. And of course, some of the scriptures that you will see on the wall. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's more so. I mean, it's not only about health and wellness, but it's about community. And there's a lot to be said for just having your community and having your people. And, if we weren't social beings, we could all do our exercise at home, but and we could lead isolated lives, but that's not healthy.
Right. I say that many times. We are social creatures, and that sense of community. There's always a different level of energy when you take a class, or if you're just watching other people around you working out. There's just a different level of participation and energy exchange.
Yeah, and friendships are made. Like you get your group, your friends, and when you don't show up, they're like, "Well, where were you?" Or just going through life. We have we have a lot of people that have gone through divorces or loss of jobs or abuse or a fire in the house or frozen pipes, or there are an untold number of things. And I think what makes the Y special is that we try not to turn anybody away for the inability to pay. So,
Very nice.
You may be paying full price running on the treadmill and have no idea the person next to you is paying half price or maybe nothing at all.
Right, and special needs. I also know, talk about assisting people like that. I know one of the programs I see quite often, especially in the wintertime, is I know you provide a place to stay warm. Or is it warming state? Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that as well.
It's based after the Room at the Inn program in Nashville. And it's any time that the temperature drops below 18 degrees, the Y will open up, and we'll give people a place to sleep overnight and some food and a place to take a hot shower and just basically keep them healthy. It's a lot of people think that 18 degrees, that's really cold.
That's cold. That's cold.
40 degrees if you're wet is cold, but
absolutely.
I try to tell people, I tried to relate it to them like this. If you left your house and went to work, and when you came home, somebody else was in your house, and that means that they now own your house and your property, would you leave? No.
Not at all.
And so,
No.
Kinsman Redeemer is another nonprofit in town that does a fantastic job with supplying tents and 0-degree sleeping bags. So really, they're doing okay as long as it doesn't stay too cold for too long. The longer it stays colder, the more people we get in. And then it's also just a chance, like sometimes they're not always the healthiest. So we have had a couple that we've have a great relationship with Rob Fisher and County EMA, and we'll call an ambulance just for them to come and check out a couple of people. And we've had some that have had to go to the hospital because their insulin is too low or have an emergency that.
Well, I think a lot of times we forget that, because we look around, it's not as evident as I would say here in Dickson as when I was living in Nashville. It was a lot more prevalent, I guess, or it was more noticeable. And but I know it is a problem here in Dickson as well. And I think it's a problem everywhere. But to be able to have a safe place to go, I think that's very, very important. But I know it's a lot of times there are certain people that are homeless because that's their choice. I know several that's how they choose to live. That's where they like to live.
Yeah.
But to have a place to go to stay warm when it's 18 degrees, I think that's a blessing, absolute blessing.
Yeah. And then we also have some where like, hey, our pipes froze in the middle of the night and we don't have water. And they're not homeless. They don't have water. And so we've had those families that have come in and be like, we just need some showers and
some place to go. Yeah, absolutely. So Paul, in addition to exercise, which I think is pretty obvious, because I think most people have the opinion that the Y it's basically just another gym. But I also know there's other activities. So I think I was in there one time, and I think there was they were doing archery at one time. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I saw archery in the back. I was like, okay. And then what other activities do you have, or other services do you guys offer besides the obvious?
Yeah. Oh, so we do a lot of youth activities. We have programming like our NFL flag football league, which is amazing. We have around 200 in it this league or this session.
Awesome, yeah.
And we also do like summer day camps and fall break camps for kids, school age kids. And then there are other programs that go on at the Y that we may be a part of that we don't, that we may not run. Like, we partner with the help center, the Dickson County Help Center, to do mobile food pantries, them and Second Harvest Food Bank.
Gotcha.
We also we'll have coming up here shortly, the big turkey giveaway. I think we gave away like 1,200 turkeys last year.
I love it. That's awesome.
And all the fixings.
That's awesome.
So feeding people, we're working on a summer feeding program for next year, which if you're talking about health, just the basic needs of just eating healthy. A lot of people look at an overweight child or an overweight adult and say they're getting too much food, but a lot of times they're just not getting the right food.
Boy, that is well said. Well said right there.
We're sometimes, I think they call it a food desert. So they don't have access to the right kinds of foods.
Right.
So we're working on a summer feeding program next year, which will be great.
I love that.
In the past, we have a class called Journey to Freedom, which is not counseling and not a Bible study, but it's kind of in between. But it just deals with any kind of addictions, from playing on your phone too much, to anything. So it's just a kind of a group-led thing. We're currently working on starting a Live Strong program, which is Lance Armstrong's cancer program. So super excited about offering that, because a lot of people don't know, but there is there are large amounts of cancer in this area for whatever reason.
Yeah, cancer is one that, they say is like, now I think it's like 50% of the people will have cancer at some point. And that's a lot if you stop and think about it. It's like, look to your left, look to your right.
Yeah.
One of those people are going to have cancer, which is so sad. But the Lance Armstrong program was always a very well done program when it comes to putting everything together and from a wellness perspective, and that giving people hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it will kind of be for the purpose of, once your insurance runs out, this program would pick back up, and we would offer a nutritionist, some personal training, and then just a support group. So I'm excited about getting it off the ground.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And then, of course, coming up in the future, probably in the next year or so, we'll break ground on a new facility.
I was going to ask, tell us about the new, what's in the plans, what's coming.
Yeah, so probably the most asked question I get right now is, when are you guys going to start? And so right now, the tentative groundbreaking is May, June of 26.
Next year.
So we will, and then it's about an 18-month build, about a year and a half.
Wow.
So it'd have us open right at the end of 27.
And so what kind of facilities, how are the facilities going to change? I'm sure the offerings are going to change drastically.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be out at Hensley Park, like next to the splash pad.
Splash pad, yep.
So as far as just being in that vicinity, you have walking trails and you have nature, you have the splash pad, you have the playground. But inside the Y, you'll have a giant aquatic center, from lap lanes to space to do water aerobics to a space for little toddlers to splash around.
And that's probably the most common question you always get at the Y, right? Do you have a pool?
Since we opened, we talked about the national Y has been around for 180 years. We've only been around for 10.
10 years.
So we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this December.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, it'll be the only aquatic center, the only indoor pool from Bellevue to Jackson.
Wow.
It really is a regional. This is going to be a regional hub, a regional center for everybody in Dickson County, Hickman, Humphreys, Houston.
Well, I know it opens a lot of avenues because even from like where I'm from in Ohio, there was nobody has an indoor pool. But it opened for like swim team. Like who would ever thought that our school would have had a swim team because we're out in the middle of cornfields.
Right.
But now they have the ability because they have a facility where they can now have a swim team.
Yeah, and I've already talked with Dr. Sutherland with the school system, and she's like, yeah, if we have a lap pool, we will have a swim team at both of our high schools. So
I know one thing that you mentioned, Paul, and that I kind of go back to is you said that the Y was kind of your way of getting into a ministry of sorts, and bringing things to more people. Why don't you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, for me, the Y is a place for everybody. It's for everybody. And whether a family comes and the kids are playing on the playground in Y Play and mom is taking a class or dad's taking a class or, they're on... It's a place where everybody can come, and it's truly our community center for our community. We average 60 community meetings a month.
60 meetings a month.
Yeah, that we don't charge for. It's free to the community if you're a nonprofit or a community group. So a lot of times when I go into meetings with other nonprofits and everybody's talking about where their next meeting is and what, program, it's at the Y.
I love that.
And
more
so,
community.
Yeah. And so for me, the ministry is being able to serve people, is whether they're children or families or the homeless or, it's about serving our community. And I love that about it. It feeds my soul. And we have an incredible staff, from Wesley Schroeder, who's our program director, to Kim Milam, who's another program coordinator, and they care about people. Our Melody Skiff, who's our Y Play, coordinator, she cares about kids, and I think that's what I love about it, is being able to reach out, see the needs of our community in Dickson, and then try to meet those needs. And I've got a great group, not only my local team at my Y, but we work so well with all the other nonprofits. So whether it be the Help Center or CareNet or Drug Free Dickson Coalition, or it's something that I've never been in a place where everybody works so well together and their ultimate goal is just the betterment of this community. I love it.
I love that as well, and I think that Y plays an integral role. And I think it's shifted, basically with Dickson, because I've been here 20 years and I've seen that shift. And it is nice to see the community come together like that, and for so many good reasons. The other thing I think is exciting is that, which one of those children that you're helping now is going to be the next Paul.
Absolutely.
I know that has to go through your mind when you think about that. There's a Paul out there.
Yeah, we already, we've been around for almost 10 years. We already have had kids that have been in our programs come back and work for us.
Yeah.
And then kids that have worked for us, gone on and gotten married and had kids, and now they're starting to come to the Y. It is a generational community, and if you talk to people, it seems like everybody has a Y story where they're like, I learned to swim at the Y, or I went to day camp at the Y, or we have tons of stories at our Y already in 9.5 years.
Well, I think it becomes like a big family is really what it becomes, because you have that fellowship, you have that ability to come together in so many different ways and forms and fashions. And I truly appreciate having the Y in Dickson, and I'm excited to see all the new things that are coming. And I appreciate you taking the time to come in today and share that with us in the community.
Well, thank you. Nothing's like the Y, and I love working there. I love all the people, and I love our community. So thank you for having me on here.
You're more than welcome. I appreciate you taking the time. You've been listening to Beyond the Adjustment, where we have conversations with other health-minded professionals to create a healthier community.